Like, meeting of the Saugatuck Township Board to order on Wednesday, October 11, 2023 at 6 p.m. I'll note that all trustees are present. If you are able, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. We switched it around. This way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, that brings us to item number 3, which is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Marcy, is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Aldrich, is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Brings us to public comment. Just a reminder, this is a time for individuals to make comments and express their concerns to the township board. It's not question and answer. And the time limit for individuals is 3 minutes and 5 minutes for those of you speaking on behalf of a group. Anybody in the first or second row that, Ms. Ingrid, would you like to comment at this time? Thank you. Would you like that? Okay, I can.
My name is Ingrid Boyer. I am here as a township resident and the director of Saugatuck District Library. I just wanted to briefly say I'm really appreciative of all the candidates who have applied to serve on our board and let you all know that we're at an exciting point in the moment, this history of the library. We are in our new building, looking forward, and will be in the next few months drafting a new strategic plan. We've been collecting surveys and conducting focus groups over the summer. So our new board's first order of business is to work on the plan. We are really excited to have new voices and new perspectives as we do that work. And I'm also here available to the board to answer any questions when you come to the point where you do that deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Anybody in the third row? Fourth row? Anybody else that'd like to make a public comment at this time? Clerk Janetsky, please. Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Supervisor, honorable members of the board. Bob Janetsky with a brief update from your county clerk and register of deeds offices. I appreciate the opportunity. You know, Madam Supervisor, if you're anything like Treasurer Helmer, if you're up late night worried, panicking, scared because Rudy Giuliani comes on TV and he tells you, you gotta watch out for property fraud, you gotta be nervous about it. I'm here to help. I want to make sure that everybody in the township is aware that the register of deeds office recently rolled out property fraud alert. This is a new free service through the register of deeds office. You can go online to our website or call down to the friendly deputy registers and they will sign you up. And if someone records something on or in your name, you can get a phone call or an email and take action from there. I do know that it works because just last week I was in my office and a senior citizen called and she said, Bob, I got a phone call and they told me somebody's trying to steal my property. It was from your office. And I said, Mom, calm down. She said, well, I signed up for property fraud alert. I got this notice. And he said, okay, well, let's look online. And I looked online as you can too through our search tool at the register of deeds. I said, Mom, did you pay off your mortgage? She said, yes, I did 5 days ago. I said, that's what was recorded. So you will get hits like that. Just be aware of that. We're excited to allow the taxpayers throughout Allegheny County to take advantage of that free service. Clerk Israels is a little happier than most clerks about now, as you're aware. This might be the first election she's dodged, but throughout the rest of Allegheny County, we're preparing for a November election and want to make sure that you're all aware of that. So if you drive by some other place and see their vote here signed but yours isn't, don't worry about it. It just means nobody could find something to put on the ballot this time around. We are going to employ her and her team services again, though, in February of next year for the presidential. We'll be gearing up for that soon. Didn't know if you knew or not, Manager DeFranco, but the Circuit Court records, division records are now online in Allegheny County for the 48th Circuit. Up until about March of this year, if you wanted to access any of those records, you had to come down to our building between the hours of 8 and 5, or you had to call down to 113 Chestnut Street. So if somebody did some damage to township property and you wanted to see what was up with the case, now you can just go online from your office and check that out. Or if you're like me and you want to know about that lady you met at the Whatnot Inn and see if her divorce is finalized, you can go online at midnight and check that out. And what things going on. I wanted to draw your attention to my most recent annual report to taxpayers. I'm not going to read the whole thing that we covered for you because I know that Supervisor Herbinger loves to read it page to page and everywhere in between. So I'm just going to draw to your attention a few highlights from last year, the year that was 2022, as far as what went on in our offices. I'm going to ask you to first turn to page 8 because you all had a big part in that. I want to thank you very much for allowing Township Hall to serve as a training area for election inspectors throughout Allegheny County. It makes it a lot easier and nicer, and really looking forward to using the new days to do some training here too. In prepping this report, my election coordinator came to me and she said, "Yeah, this year, how many election inspectors do you think you trained this time around?" I said, "Boy, it was quite a few, maybe 250. And she said, "Well, try 683. So we set an all-time record last year, in part because of your help. Unfortunately, we think we're going to break that record next year when we get to the 27 days of early voting, and all the election inspectors, we're going to have to train for that. Next, if you turn to page 11, as you're aware, Allegheny County no longer has any more birthing hospitals in the county. And so all of the home births recorded in our office are home births. So the midwife has been even busier than usual. In 2022, we set an all-time record for the county since the hospitals closed. With 42 home births. That's not to say that back in the 1890s there weren't a lot more than that, but since we've been tracking them with the birthing hospitals closed, we beat the record of the year before, 39. Next, if you will turn your page to page 15, just want to remind you of the services we offer to our veterans down at the clerk's office. If you have a veteran in your life, make sure that he or she comes down and records his or her EE-214s, those original papers of honorable discharge. Bring in the original copy. We'll make a copy and we'll send the veteran out with the original and 2 pre-certified copies. Then, as long as that veteran or his or her heirs need, we will issue free certified copies so they can access free those veterans benefits. As well, we now have the veteran Allegheny County Veterans ID card. That is also free to anybody who brings in that ED-214 or has it on file. Next, if you could turn the page to the Register of Deeds section. If you look at page 23 at the top, I don't have to tell anybody here how busy the real estate market was in the years of 2019 and 2020. And in 2021, we set records for the number of land transfers and mortgage documents in the office. We hit our all-time high. Last year in 2022, those dropped off. If you look at the maroon bar and the gray bars there, dropped off significantly from our record year of 2021. So there were a lot fewer real estate transactions throughout Allegheny County. However, if you turn the page and look up at the top of 24, still in the Register of Deeds section, that blue weighted graph up at the top shows you that even though land transfers go down, the overall value is still up just slightly. So the land is still retaining its value, even though there's a lot less of it changing hands. Finally, and you are aware, and I know that Supervisor Bigford's aware, we do offer passport services on 26. We set an all-time record in the Register of Deeds office with 392 passport applications served in 2022. We already broke that record this year in August, about mid-August. We had 394. So we anticipate this to be another record-breaking year. Finally, a word about proposal 2 of 2022 that will have jurisdiction and others offering 27 days of early in-person voting. The job that Burke is now doing is much different than the job she originally signed up for, the job that I originally signed up for. All of our local entities are going to have to really consider how we're going to support those clerks, support their election inspectors and their efforts to conduct elections. and possibly even clerk's compensation, given that we're gonna be working a lot with Saturdays and Sundays. With that, I'll take any questions you might have relative to property fraud alert and your report of Prop 3 of 2022. Prop 2 of 2022.
I have 2 questions, comments on the fraud alert, because this sounds pretty cool. 2 instances we've had recently. We have a property that 4 siblings own together. The parents are deceased. Some of them, they don't all speak to each other. It's been a nightmare for me in particular.
I'm sure.
Because 2 people pay the same amount of tax, someone will send a share. I just wondering if this would help us sort that out. Linda Havens has been helpful, telling us what she shows the deeds to be recorded as, which don't correspond to what some of the taxpayers say. So, I don't know.
If one of the individuals tries to change that deed and without the permission of the other,
Yeah.
they would get a notice if they all signed.
All right.
this.
That might be the case here, and one's out of state. It's just been one of those things that like, just go away. And then we also had a taxpayer call us a month or 2 ago that said there was a realtor out there claiming to represent the sale of his property. And it's not for sale. So I don't know if something like that might show up here, but I mean, fraud's fraud.
Yeah, that would, if the realtor actually sold his property
Well-
and the person had signed up for it, the person would get a
All right.
notice as soon as anything was
Yeah.
recorded. That sounds like an issue for law enforcement, though. that-
Yeah, no, that's what I thought, but we tried to support him, but we haven't heard of anyone buying the
The
property.
realtor wasn't local, was it?
No,
Okay,
no. So I don't know. You never know. There's a lot of scams out there, but
there are.
no, this sounds really good. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Any questions?
Thank you. Excuse me.
Oh, thank you for your comprehensive report. It's impressive on all things going on in the clerk and register of deeds, and we thank you for your service to the county.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Good to see you, Bob.
Yep, good night.
Thank you, Bob.
Good evening. Hope everyone is well. Just a few things that are going on with us. We hardly ever talk about veterans as far as the veterans that you might have in the township, but we have actually a department that simply handles veterans in all the ways that they need help. So just for instance, tomorrow we call it Veteran Stand Down. And these are the services that are available for veterans. So if you talk to them in your constituency, go over here, get help from them. They have all these different needs that they can help you with. But just to give you an idea, so we have Allen County Senior and Veteran Services, free health screening, Veterans Justice Outreach, HUD, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Employment Assistance, West Michigan Veterans Assistance Programs, Housing Resources, Mental Health Resources, and many more. So they're gonna all be at First Baptist Church tomorrow morning from 10 to 2. And we publicize it to say, get out there, let us help you in any way we can. But also so that you can just know that we have a service that tries to take care of them. But the big problem is finding them, letting them know what's there, because many of them are just simply sheltered and they're scared to get help. So if you see a way to help them or know somebody that knows of someone, say, wait a minute, there's people there that can help you. And we have a department that simply works on that. You can. Also, this coming Saturday, if you're interested, we have the Walk for Warmth. I don't know if any of you have walked that before. It's at the Links Golf Course in Elgin. It's from 1 to 4. But to give you an idea, last year we helped out 601 residents with water, sewer, heat bills. And those 601 people averaged about $869 per person, that they simply couldn't pay their bill for their heat or their water, their sewer. And so we do this Walk for Warmth tomorrow or Saturday from 1 to 4. So if you can show up, it's a great cause to look at. So we have a mission statement, obviously, at the county. How do we make Allegan a better place for families to raise a family in a safe and good way? And we look at that as a county setting, but I also want you to know, I'm not sure how your township works, but we have MAC, Michigan Association of Counties. And we just had our annual conference at the Radisson in Kalamazoo this past weekend. Well, I chair Health and Human Services, so we have commissioners from all around the state of Michigan that are on committees those committees set a platform, and those platforms go to the legislators to say, work on this for our people. This is what we really want. We're all in the same mindset of saying, no, this is what it is. So just to give you an idea of what that is, agriculture, environmental regulatory affairs, finance, general government, health and human services, judiciary, transportation. So we set a platform for all those. Then our senators, our state representatives go, oh, this is what the people want. This is what the commissioners want for all the counties in the state of Michigan. And then everybody votes on that. So there's one voice for all these topics. And then many of you know Jim Story, he's our chairman this year. He just got voted as president for the MAC. That's a huge statement for Allegan County. I mean, it's all about leadership. It's all about people that stand up, as I believe your group has in many different ways. And I would just say that I talked to Dan because we're working on housing, you're working on housing. You're going to end up being a catalyst for other townships to actually look at zoning because nobody else dares to. And since you actually have run at this thing, I'm telling you, you're going to be a catalyst for all these other ones to really take the biggest step for low-income housing. So my hat's off to you, within that. But obviously, our time has been spent on our budget. Just know that that's really my main responsibility. I better make sure we have 12 different unions, about 460 some people that we hired to run county government. My main job is to make sure that we're fiscally sound and that the money going into all these different programs that they can be accountable for what they do and how they do it. So we're doing that. We just had a public hearing on it, as you have for the time of year. And we'll be passing that budget this coming month. That's my report.
Cool.
Can I ask a couple?
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go first. You go first.
It's wonderful to hear about all of the resources available to the veterans. I'm particularly interested in the mental health benefit. It was national, wasn't it, Becky? These National Mental Health Day yesterday, right?
Yesterday, yes.
And there's a huge need there. Do you know, are a lot of those services available at free or low cost to veterans? Okay.
They're all free.
Okay.
I mean, they're running at them because they know they need such great help.
Mhm.
So all these services are there that are free. We offer a meal. These services that they can get are free. And
Okay,
even-
so ongoing mental health support
It
is
is.
free.
So
That's
I'm going to have
incredible.
the total
Okay,
Budget just for that.
okay.
And Mark Woody and their group is all about it, so it's great. The thing is finding the people that need the help and making sure that you can point them in our direction.
John, did you have?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I should know this, but where is it housed? In other words, where can these vets go?
It ends up that our Commission of Aging has a dual responsibility of senior services. So remember, we have a millage for that, about $2.6 million goes into that. And then that same director, and that's Jennifer Garcia, just as our new director. Many of you know her from the foundation she was with, but she also runs veteran services. So the COA runs both veteran services and the Commission of Aging. Thanks for the question. Anybody else?
So Commissioner, thank you for the update. I have two things I want to mention. One, I think you know this, but we are in the end run now. It's been a year and a half or more of completely reviewing every word in our zoning ordinance.
Amazing.
And we're getting close to final passage, but a lot of it is focused on affordable housing, smaller footprints, smaller minimum, not minimum wages, minimum square footage for the homes. So we're really close. And I'm sure, I think you've talked with some of us about that. And kind of related to that, I just want to make sure you know that Saugatuck Township fielded a team, was it 2 or 3 weekends ago? Allegan County Community Foundation sponsored the East versus West of the County mini golf tournament right across the street here. And in conjunction with our local Rotary Club. And let's see, Commissioner Aldridge, Commissioner Israels, and one of our planning commissioners joined me in a team. And we came in second in our round. I don't know where we ended up at the end of the day, but in our round, we were second. And hats off to Stacy. She had 2 holes in one.
You got 2 holes in one.
But it really underscores, because I know there was some confusion last week or the week before about that housing seminar workshop in the county. So we would love to be a part of all those things, and we're doing our best.
Elgin Foundation did speak to us, and for the public, just so you know, Elgin Foundation that we have in Elgin, they have a $22 million endowment, which they make probably an interest like 900,000 a year just on that. They're spending that just for local positive things.
Wow.
So they came to our commission this past month saying, we want to make sure we're catalysts in helping low-income housing happen. It's all about partnerships with groups. And that's why I called up Dan, because they said, we want to partner with townships within this. And their endowment, if you've seen the hundreds of different groups that they help in just a positive way, it's tremendous. And I know they want to run that low-income housing. So you can, the hats on for Saugatuck Township, that the only township that's really addressed the issue that townships can, and that's square footage of a house. The square footage now is just too large for, and the average house now is $250,000. I mean, the average income. So thanks for running at it. And if you're willing to, you know you have it done, I'd love for you to say, I'm willing to speak at the county.
Oh, we'd love to. No, we'd like to be involved because we have significantly lowered the minimum.
We
And
help, we
or
help
we're
to help
proposing.
to everybody else to give a voice to it.
Great.
I just would like to say thank you for bringing up the COA. Because I was hopeful that Bob would mention something about aging services in his report too, and he didn't. But Allegan County is known for their aging services, not only just meals and transportation and healthcare. But I mean, they have like 6 different divisions, I think that
You
they
can
have.
imagine so if you have a senior, you're going, how do we get my non-health? But they don't have the family around them. We have respite. They'll go in, something clean the house. They'll bathe that person. They'll give them help to look them up. And there's many families, not family structures within places, they just don't have that.
Right.
You know, so if you look at other counties and what we're doing,
We're far ahead.
We're far ahead.
We're far ahead.
Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, I guess that's near and dear to my heart, because I helped plan that 20-some years ago.
And also pointed to our Elgin County Transportation. So we have different funds that we have about 28 buses, and it's only $2 a ride.
Mhm.
So we have many groups that are going, get people to work. How does a senior get their food from a store? Pointed to our Elgin County Transportation, and Saugatuck has their own transportation system too. So that's a great system. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you so much. All right, is there others that would like to make public comment at this time? No? We have anybody online? No? Okay. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. I trust you've all had a chance to review the consent agenda, and if there are no separate discussion of items, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Supervisor Bigford, the only thing I would add is that we did get a late report from Tony Shippa with the ambulance committee.
Okay. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda, and just note that we do have correspondence from our representative, Tony Shippa.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion by Aldrich. Is there support?
I'll support it.
Support by Marcy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, that brings us to page number 28 in our packet. And that is appointments. Excited to learn more about our applicants. Daniel, is there any other notes that we should make before we?
No, you have one appointment to make to the Saugatuck Douglas District Library Board of Trustees. We do have 2 representatives, and there's a vacancy right now for 1, and it is a 4-year appointment.
Okay.
And can you remind me, because I keep forgetting, who is the other representative?
David, thank you.
Oh, it is David.
David Black, okay.
I should have known that. Thank you.
Okay, and are we aware of which applicants are here tonight?
I think you can ask if any of
Okay.
the applicants are here.
Is
would like
Jeanette
to-
Locker here?
I do not see Jeanette
No.
Locker.
Lewis?
Kelly Lewis, yes.
Hi, Kelly, thank you. Olson? Hello. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to. say that.
Ayala.
Thank you very much. Ayello,
Yeah, that's me.
yes,
Okay.
welcome. And slice, goodness, no, okay,
Okay,
all right. So we have Lewis here, Olson, Ayello, and not Slice, right?
Correct.
Okay. Lewis, would you like to come up to the podium and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you have interest in this position? And then if you're okay, we'd like to ask you a couple questions.
Sure, happy to. I'll keep it very brief. My name is Kelly Lewis. I'm from Michigan, but very recently retired. I was living out on the East Coast for the past 10 years. I've always had a house in Saugatuck, but unfortunately was only able to use it for holidays and family vacations, despite the fact that my family is from the East Lansing, Kalamazoo, and Traverse City area. Love this community and have been living in my newly found time. The gift to myself has been to actually find ways to give back to the community. I have to say, during COVID, when a lot of us were here, or let me rephrase, a lot of us were working from home, I used that library's Wi-Fi and the one conference room that's available incessantly. It was such a gift to the community. And I have participated in some of those focus groups over the summer. And I think the strategic vision of where that library wants to go and the things that potentially we could open up for the community, I think is quite limitless. So again, just looking for ways to give back in this newfound gift of time that I have, and can't think of another activity and board that would marry up both of those interests. Thank you.
Thanks,
Happy to
Kelly.
answer any questions.
yeah, don't go away.
I'll let John kick it off. Treasurer Helmrich does a great job in
Here's it. Well,
interviewing.
do you currently have a library card?
I do. And I'm happy to say no overdue books at the moment, but I'm in there a few times a week.
And what's the last book you read?
Oh my gosh, lessons in chemistry.
Okay, oh, that's
And
solid.
making a movie out of that.
Yeah, excellent.
John, you're being a little ruthless today.
I love the library.
Self-professed bookaholic.
Yeah.
And I'm much more maybe old school, but I love to hold a book. I'm not into the whole at least not yet into the whole Kindle technology yet.
Well, I've never done that and I never plan to. Books. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Can I ask?
Yes, absolutely.
First of all, I do use, what I love is I have to read now on Kindle. I love to hold a book, but I cannot read that way anymore, not without tons of light. And you know, a lot of times I'll read before I sleep. So the Kindle is awesome. And that's where I get my books, is from the library, which is wonderful. Anyway, so my question, I am really committed to protecting our library. So here's my position. I oppose any restrictions on books, especially when it comes to book banning. And all I want to know is if you hold a different position.
If you're saying that you oppose book banning,
Yes.
I'm of the same position.
Okay.
There are some states and some very progressive counties and states. I've lived in San Francisco, I've lived in New York, I've lived in New Jersey, I've lived in, did my residency in Charleston, South Carolina. There are some counties that are so progressive that a library will actually, in a sectioned off area, believe it or not, will actually allow pornography. You have to sign it out, and my position is that would be the only thing I would ban, right? That if that's your interest, go find it someplace else. But that's, it's a very hot controversial area now. It came up in one of the focus groups this summer. And I know, there's gonna be a lot of discussion and positions and voting on this, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Do you have travel plans, or are you gonna be able to attend the meetings? Are they monthly or monthly? Do you have any, are you gonna be able to attend?
So I just got back from
meetings?
2 weeks in Spain. I have nothing, I have nothing on the calendar, coming up. So, yeah.
Anything else? I do. What do you see as like what you could bring the library board that's different, or like where you have energy in a particular area in
Great
serving?
question. Great question. I think, just diversity of experience, diversity of, where I've been, the libraries I've been to, the technology that, is on the horizon. I'm fairly high energy, very, open-minded, willing to listen and pause to listen, but quite decisive once all evidence and opinions are on the table. Other than that, just passionate about, the ability to make sure that free library services are available to all those who choose to use them.
Good answer.
What do you perceive that the function of the library board is today?
That's a good question too.
That's another great question, and I have to confess, I'm not quite sure. Because looking at some of the focus groups, I would anticipate that some of the things that we discussed during the summer would also find its way and escalate up to the board for discussion. But I really don't know, but I'm super excited to find out.
Good. Now we all have to remember our questions. So we ask the same ones to everybody. Anything else for Ms. Lewis? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Hi. Just go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your interest in being on the board.
My name is Karen Olson. I am a West Michigan resident my whole life. And my partner and I moved to Saugatuck Township about 10 years ago, and we love it. And I've just sort of in the past few years been trying to get more involved as I have more time in the community and some of the services that, or I guess the programs that the library offers, as well as helping out with the clerk's office. So when this came up, I was kind of excited because I love the library, and I've been attending the book club the past year or so, the evening one, and I think it's fantastic. I think the director and the other employees there are really great, and I also enjoy working for the township when those opportunities come up. And this was sort of like a nice mix of those two things, of being able to support the library and represent them, as well as representing the township and the citizens that live here, and make sure that they're represented in what the library offers as well. So that's sort of my thoughts on the matter.
Well stated. John, you want to kick off?
Sure. Do you stream Canopy?
The stream can, no, I don't.
Should tell her about Canopy. It's fabulous.
It is.
It's a free streaming service through public libraries. And anyone will.
I use a lot of like Libby and do like audiobooks and stuff, but I haven't streamed anything.
Okay, no, check it out. It's got good stuff. So I assume you have a library card.
Yeah.
All right. What book are you currently reading?
So I have
Or
15.
how many? I should.
I have 15 pages left in the Great Believers, which is our book discussion for tomorrow. So
Okay.
the ending is tough. It's a lot. So
So what's that, The Great Believers?
yeah. It's about the AIDS crisis in Chicago in the
Okay.
1980s. So
Okay,
it's
cool.
a lot. But I have been enjoying it. And then I usually like read something and I have an audiobook, so I've been reading an audiobooks, the Lunar series, and I'm totally blanking on the author's name, it starts with an M, and the first book is called Cinder, so it's sort of like these retellings of, fairy tales, but it's like sort of futuristic and spacey, so.
Wow. Do you like sci-fi
I have.
or fantasy?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Shall I?
Sure.
You
Please.
heard my question, but I'll repeat it.
Book banning, right?
Yeah, I oppose any restrictions on books, but especially when it comes to book banning and in light of current events.
Yes,
So do you agree with this position or do you have a different
I
position?
completely agree. My mom's a reading specialist, so growing up, it was very important that people had access to any types of books and.
Yeah.
You know, book banning was always a hot topic for her, an important topic for her, and she instilled that in my sister and I, so. Yeah, that's, I don't like it, obviously, and it's something that I'm kind of passionate about in the sense that, you know, I see that other libraries are having this happen to them. It's like on the national level, it's on the local levels, it's. I don't know, disheartening, and so that's why another reason that I thought it was important to sort of have. That in my mindset, at least represented on the board as well, because I know they're doing fantastic work at the library and want to make sure that they know they're supported by the community.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are you gonna be in the area and able to attend the meetings?
Yes,
regularly?
yeah. I work full time, so I don't really do a lot of long trips. I think that I am taking I have a long weekend next week.
That's okay. Yeah. Go away.
Okay, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Want me to go?
Sure.
Aaron, I just want to thank you for already committing to work on elections. You've been wonderful, and I want everyone to know that you've been a volunteer here in the community already. But what do you perceive the function of the library board is and what your role would be?
You know. Don't have experience with it.
Okay.
So I'm going in a little bit as a learning experience, but I'm perceiving it as being an advocate, not only for representing our community to the library, but also being an advocate for the library as well.
So what do you have particular interest or like feel like you have energy for that you feel like you could bring to the board?
I think it's my just general appreciation for the library and for Saugatuck Township. As you know, being a resident here and liking our space and what the township represents. I mean, sitting here and I learned some stuff tonight that I didn't know that the township offered, and I think it's fantastic, and all the initiatives that you guys are doing, as well as the library. I mean, they to go from that tiny little like schoolhouse library to where it is now is amazing, and I think they have so much potential, and I want to be part of that.
Well stated. Anything else? Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you might have to whisper. Is it aioli? Am I saying? No, I'm saying.
Well, it's probably
alio.
Aiello or Aiello.
Can you say it?
Yellow?
Aiello.
Yeah.
Aiello.
have the color yellow.
I'm gonna.
Oh,
I went there right.
Amarillo. I was close. Okay.
It's funny, I used to be a teacher and I have to teach it each year, so that's how I teach out of the color yellow.
Right.
So my name is Frank Aiello, super into books, hardcore reader, of mostly printed books, but I read a lot of stuff online too. I'm originally from California. I moved to Michigan about 7 years ago, and then I moved to Saugatuck Township in 2021. Part of that spike that you guys saw on the deed, that was an interesting chart that we saw. For people that are watching this online, there's a document that was passed around that had maybe transactions, and yeah, so I was part of that spike in 2021. Lived here for a few years. I've been more recently getting involved in like a lot of the stuff around town. I've been volunteering for the Saugatuck Douglas History Center and doing some work there.
And I'm fascinated by the area, like I moved here, because it kind of reminds me a lot of California and I miss my home and, I feel really welcome here. But besides that, I love books. I was gonna put this in my application, but, I printed it out at the library. I don't have a printer at home. And I don't think I don't think I need one. But I've been going to the library. I love the facility they have. They print stuff out there. I'm a huge fan of the Friends of the Library book sale, so a disclosure of conflict of interest, right? I've materially given money to the library to buy the cool books that they have there, so. I also a hardcore wildflower gardener, the flowers out in front, it's an amazing display, so it just like, that kind of, it blew me away. Each time I see it, besides that, I love the space, I love seeing the new releases come out all the time. So I want to get more involved in it. I think it's a cool institution. I grew up in libraries. California doesn't quite have townships, but they have like similar things for unincorporated county land. So I grew up in my little township library. It's like a little tiny place. But it's a nice library. I've worked in libraries on and off. I worked in a library in college, music librarian, cataloging historical recordings, and I worked in special collections for a little bit too. So I've experienced in libraries, like I said, I was a teacher. I love working with kids, but so with the History Center, there's also a lot of older people, and for some reason I like working with older people too. I don't know, it's like the extremes. People my own age, I've never really felt like I fit in with, like, because I'm in that weird millennial space, but I don't know, I like the diversity that the library brings. Like, it really is like open to anyone, so I've always loved them as institutions like that. So yeah, that's me. Questions?
Go ahead.
Well, I have to ask you about your DJ and music.
Oh, yeah.
It says you have do you still have a radio show?
Well, so that was when I was I went to college at UC Santa Barbara, so that was on KCSB, so it wasn't a radio show, so it was physically over there, because that's where the antenna tower is. So that was like over a decade ago, but I had a show for a few years. It was called Skippin' Reels of Rhyme, the Bob Dylan quote, and I would play archival recordings from the music library, like as I cataloged them, because I thought they were interesting. And I would try to popularize our collection with the greater community. And it was cool. It reached about 200,000 people, the radio tower. Not a lot of people streamed it. This is like the before times when no one streamed anything. But it was broadcast, and I would just play a lot of old recordings, whatever I just cataloged. Like one time I had a Hawaiian folk music show, because I just cataloged a bunch of Hawaiian records. Another time, like, we got a collection of like hundreds of Gilbert and Sullivan things, so I'm like, I'm gonna do Gilbert and Sullivan, why not? But it's mostly folk music and jazz. And yeah, that was my DJ career.
So you're not doing that here?
No, because it was in Santa Barbara, so it's like physically you have to be in the radio station.
Right.
I was also in the Peace Corps, and they had a radio show called Radio Gigi Sembe. I was a agroforestry volunteer, and I would do a radio in Malinke. I speak this language called Malinke, so I would do, and that one I definitely don't do anymore, but that was over in Africa, in Senegal, so I did that. There's no recordings of it, and they'd be embarrassing if you had to hear my voice in another language, but that was my radio experience.
Well, that's cool. I've had some myself, but that's irrelevant right now. But I did want to commend you and thank you for the work you're doing with the History Center and maps, because I was the vice chair of the History Center for 4 years, and it's
right on.
It's a very cool place.
Yeah, there's a backlog of maps.
Yeah. Is Mary Voss still doing that, or?
She comes to the meetings. She is still doing some of this stuff, but I see her name all the time in the catalog.
She was always down in the archives doing stuff.
Oh man, she's like the reference person whenever I have a question that no one else could answer, because she has a lot of institutional knowledge and.
Oh, yeah. No,
She still goes strong.
She's great. Okay, so what's the last book you read?
The last book I read is called, the title's kind of long. It's called Democracy May Not Exist, But We'll Miss It When It's Gone by Astra Taylor. And it's a nonfiction book. It's an account of democratic practices across different societies and throughout histories by a bunch of themes, like citizenship. That was my favorite chapter, but I can't. So there was like, there's all these like themes about the democracies, and it's basically like, the Romans didn't get it right. They could have done a better job. Like, has democracy ever existed? Will it ever exist? Or does it have to be like a constant thing we have to like push for? So that's kind of like the gist of it, written by kind of like an activist, scholar, writer person. And it's also based off the documentary that she did. But I don't know, so for some reason I don't read documentaries, I like reading it in a book form, like I still haven't seen the documentary, but it's a companion to a film that she made about it, so.
Okay, no, I've heard of that. Do you ever stream Canopy?
No, again, like I'm not a big screen guy, like my day job is a software engineer, so I look at screens all the time, so like when I'm done.
Wait, so you don't watch Netflix? You don't watch TV?
I occasionally, like if my girlfriend
I
asks me to do it, like we'll watch something together. but, like, focus for more than like a half an hour with the screen.
All right.
No, but with books, it's like, oh,
All
let's
right.
do it. I
Well,
don't
there's
know.
great documentaries on Canopy too.
I know, I know I should watch it, and it's free, right? to the-
Yeah, if you have a library card.
Right. Before you ask, I do.
I didn't think I needed to, so thank you.
So you've heard the question that I posed about, I oppose any restrictions on books. Especially when it comes to banning and especially in light of current events. So do you have a different view on my?
No, I'm pretty against bans, like, it's hard because there's a lot of material today that's not in print, really, it's like just kind of on the internet, and it's like, well, that content should probably be moderated better. But as far as like books, if something's gonna make it into print, like the amount of care and discretion and editorial oversight that takes to make something into a book, I feel like if it's already made it that far, it has a purpose in this world, so I'm pretty against book banning. The pornography, whoever mentioned the pornography thing though, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, and it's weird, some of my earliest library experiences were going with like classrooms where people were like, oh, let's try to find pictures of naked people, and it's like, well, those are like, you know, medical books, or like those are art books, are those pornography? I mean, it depends on where you draw the line, and there's certain things that was considered pornography like a century ago that probably wouldn't be today, or it's considered high art, so it's kind of a moving target, so because of the complexity and nuance, I'll just say no bans, like, I don't see any good reason to ban anything. Or book wise, again, like the restriction being that print means that it's been vetted and reviewed by people, so I think books shouldn't be banned.
What did you teach?
I taught, well, about book bans and pornography, I taught biology, but as part of that, I taught sex ed, so I came up a lot. It's like, well, what content can you teach around that? But then I also taught chemistry. I taught freshman biology and I taught advanced placement biology, so I had like the extremes. And then taught honors chemistry, so that's my background. And then I also taught in Peace Corps, I taught English a little bit. So English as a second language.
Are you gonna be in the area to attend all the meetings?
I plan on it, yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, no more Peace Corps or?
Well, I mean, if I can make a 2-year commitment to another country, making meeting commitments with here, it's like, you know, this great.
Okay, got it. I'm elderly and I wanna hang out with you.
I'm with you. I don't even know how to ask my question anymore. What do you think the function of the board is today? You just have so much experience in so many different areas, but what do you perceive the function of the library board is today?
To be frank, because that's my name, I don't entirely know what to expect, which is some of my favorite experience, right? It's like, go to another country. But like, I expect to participate. I feel like I'm a good listener, so I can offer anything, my technical expertise, I am a software engineer, like by day, so like with the History Center, I showed them how to write a request for proposals, like an RFP for their website redesign, which is kind of interesting, and communicating technical details to people in plain language, like that's a big one. But also listening, I don't know, it's kind of like a mushy concept, like, oh, you're a good listener, like what does that mean? But I don't know, I like listening to people more than talking. Like this is the most I've talked all day, and I'm probably not gonna talk for the rest of the night. But I think I'm a good listener, and yeah, technical stuff and just humility and compassion. Like I feel like I have a lot of humility, which is probably why I read a lot of books, you know. So that, yeah, I feel like that's what I'll bring.
I think you kind of answered my question as well of what you really have energy for, you know, like what are you bringing to the board that you feel really passionate or energetic about? Like, hey, I could really further this idea or this thing that I'm really great at.
So your question is like, what what idea?
No, if you were on the board, what type of projects or what type of interest do you have? A lot of energy, just natural, like you would gravitate towards that project and get involved and take a stake in.
It's hard to anticipate what I'd be excited about, and usually it's from other people's excitement, but also to know where the need is. Cause like I have a schema in my mind of what I think other people might need, but I might be wrong. So again, it's like humility, right? So it would probably be for whatever people need, like at the History Center. Like the needs are always changing. Like last week, one of the other catalogers was like, I need you to write a program that'll scrape the website and make me a list of all these historical photographs so that I can go through and make sure that we have them on this new website. And I felt like, oh, that's the need. I guess I'm gonna learn how to scrape the internet for this kind of stuff. So like stuff that and I wouldn't have chosen to do that, but it was kind of fun. I don't know. So like wherever the need is, like that's where I am. Like I don't want to impose my idea about what I think institutions need. I mean, I have ideas, I have strong opinions, but I also like to hear what other people actually want out of me, and then that's the work that I find the most meaningful, not some pet project that no one's ever gonna hear about. Even though I do catalog historical maps, so I mean, there's pet projects that no one ever is gonna hear about are also kind of fun, but I'm just wherever I'm needed is that's where I gravitate towards.
Very good, very good. Well, thank you, Mr. Aiello. Any other? Yeah. I wrote it down. Aiello. Okay, we have 5 applicants, 3 that were here tonight and are very impressive. We'd like to discuss or can I further discuss and make a motion? We also have the director here and available for questions.
Were the other applicants informed that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Can I make a comment before?
Absolutely.
I just want to say, I want all 3 that are here.
So does Ingrid. Yes.
So you are all fantastic. I'm thrilled. I just wanted to say thank you to all 3 of you regardless. I have no idea how things are gonna end up, and there are always other opportunities. We'll probably get to that later, but really, I want all 3. So-
Yes, ask Manager DeFranco. You were passed over for a couple different.
Oh, yeah,
really?
yeah, sorry.
Correct.
Get on the
Okay.
planning commission.
Follow what we're talking about.
Maybe 2,
Yeah.
3 years to get a planning commission, so yeah.
Sometimes we have no applicants. Tonight we had 5. I mean, it's great to have many.
So
That's the most encouraging.
if you are
thing.
not chosen, don't be
And-
discouraged and please come
And
back.
those that did come tonight, I mean, I agree. They're fantastic.
I agree too. I think that's very difficult. I wish you had 3 positions. But we have other positions that come up
Mhm.
over time and we want all of you. In some way or another, so I do think that's hard, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for coming in and sharing who you are. Because that was really important to us, and we want people like you who are committed to the community to be part of the planning process and the growing process, so thank you.
I do have a brief question for Miss Ingrid. My children grew up in the library, so I hope it's okay that I call you Miss Ingrid. Okay, okay. Could you talk about the expectations briefly of board members and kind of the roles and what, and not just for the applicants, but for our board to have a greater understanding? Yes, wherever you feel comfortable.
Should I be at the mic?
Sure.
I actually just looked up from the Library of Michigan what the trustee manual defines as the rules of the library board. And we exist as part of an act that created district libraries. So this is specific to district libraries. So here they go. The job of the board is to 1, adopt bylaws and rules for the board's governance. 2, maintain control over the building and grounds of the library. 3, control the expenditures of all funds credited to the library. 4, appoint, supervise, evaluate, discipline, or remove a director. Approve an annual library budget And finally, adopt policies, rules, and regulations regarding the use of the library. Any?
So what,
questions?
I mean, those are the essential duties and what's, statutory, I guess, or whatever, however you'd want to describe that. Could you tell us from your perspective what that looks like in more of a monthly or,
Sure.
meetings and just what the expectations and what?
So we meet monthly with combined meetings in November, December, and July and August.
Okay.
So that's 10 meetings a year. We are a very neutral, nonpartisan group, so our meetings are completely drama-free, and we only get to focus on doing positive things for the community, which is great. Typical meeting follows a very similar structure that you have. All of our meetings are public meetings, open to the public, for purposes of transparency. We have a consent agenda, we approve the agenda, we pay the bills, we review financial reports. We are usually in some cycle of reviewing and approving policies. You talked about intellectual freedom and book banning. We recently adopted a revised, what we call material selection policy. It's called collection development policy, but it describes what we buy and why we buy it and what criteria there are. And it also outlines guidelines for what happens when we have book challenges, which is what we call them. And most book challenges are just that. They don't become book bans, but certainly and not in our library. So reviewing policies with the strategic plan, that's kind of the big thing that's on the agenda and will be on the agenda the next couple of months. And then following up with that strategic plan, which I know you guys are all experts in strategic thinking and planning and goals and objections and all our objectives, not objections. So not only writing that plan, but then following up, checking in, make sure that we're on track with all those things. I'm trying to go down the agenda, a typical agenda in my head. The board also works with the Friends of the Library, which is our booster organization. We're so lucky that we have this great source of community financial support. And yeah, I think that covers it for the most part.
Who currently is the longest serving member of the board from the three communities?
Well, this term, we actually have all three municipalities are going to be appointing a new trustee, which is very unusual.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I'm just going through the remaining.
So-
So our current board, we have 6 total reps.
Right,
David Blatt, who's the other representative from Saugatuck Township, he's only served for 2 years. He is our current board president. Our Saugatuck City representative is Larry Blows, and our Douglas representative is Demetria Tarian and newly appointed Janice Perkowski. So that means Larry Blows is the longest serving board.
Oh, wow.
He was here. He was on the board when we went through the bond proposal,
Right,
building the new
right.
library. So
wow.
he's the most worn out.
Well,
No, but still working hard.
no,
So
I wouldn't, he'll be fine. Those are great people.
we do. I'm very fortunate. I have always had
Yeah.
great people.
No, I know.
People who want to work with the library, are
Yeah.
very community minded. They're open-minded. They're just looking only to do good for the community.
They're great.
Because that's all we do.
No, and I want to commend you because you've had some great displays right up front, LGBTQ plus books and all those issues. And have you had challenges like some of our neighbors further afield?
Not so far afield, unfortunately.
Oh, well, I was hoping it was farther afield.
Well, it's Ottawa.
Right, exactly, exactly. Jamestown.
So we have not had any challenges since I have worked at the library, which goes back to 2010.
Yeah,
We have recently had, what happens in our library is books go missing. So nobody officially challenges them
oh, they take,
or asks us to remove them. They just take it on themselves to remove them. So we have kind of a list of certain books
Okay.
that are on many lists on the internet that we kind of check in on. Like, when's the last time we saw that book? There is in our fireplace room, a control panel for our gas fireplace. It's a little inset control box. Our service person was servicing that fireplace, opened the hatch and found a book that somebody had jammed in there to hide it.
Wow.
So the book had a big rainbow color cover and it was called This Book is Gay. So it was probably the most obviously LGBTQ themed book in our collection, but whoever thought they were making any kind of impact by hiding that one book
Didn't work.
was rather. So.
Well, if they're stealing them, it's easy to replace them because you know which books go missing.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Put a little sensor on them and they beep when they go
Yeah.
out the door, like,
I
you
was
know,
gonna say, we don't have. security
Kohl's or
gates, so
something.
this is the-
But no, you've got a great people on your board. And you will continue to.
I don't envy you guys.
No,
I was very impressed.
We'll,
by your comments.
Put some marbles in a bowl.
Any other questions for Ingrid? Oh, thank you for being
No,
here.
thank you.
Okay,
So do we discuss or just go to a motion or what's the
I think we've done both and where we could do a motion and then discuss after if it's supported. Nobody wants to go. This is good.
is anyone else ready? Or so I just go for it. Okay. As I said, and we've all said, we've never had so many strong candidates for any of our board or commission positions. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to move to approve the appointment of Frank Aiello as Saugatuck Township representative to the Saugatuck Douglas District Library Board of Trustees for a 4-year term to expire on September 30th, 2027.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Helmut, support by Aldrich. Further discussion? I will say what has already been said, that these are incredible candidates and we would have been lucky to have any of them, any one of them. And we encourage those of you that were not chosen to please come back and stay involved. And we would love to have you in some other fashion. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Welcome, Frank and
Congratulations.
Mr. Aioli.
Aioli.
No, I'm thinking. I'm hungry and I'm.
Aioli.
Oh, Aioli. Yellow. I even
Love
looked
it.
at the guy yellow and said Aioli. I'm so sorry. Thank
I've
you.
heard a lot of different
But
pronunciations.
it's so nice when we can laugh at these meetings because we rarely have a chance. So, thank you.
You're welcome. I'll make some other
Okay.
mistake, I'm sure.
Wow.
Oh. Okay,
Again, just thank you to all of you for
Yes.
coming in,
absolutely.
really.
Please, Aaron and Kelly, come back.
Yeah.
Please.
Don't
We'll get in touch
Don't go
with you.
Yeah,
far.
don't go far.
We thank you. So,
We know
And
where
we
to
have
look.
3 elections next year. That's for Aaron, but Kelly can be an election worker too, so.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to page number 39. Under new business, item number 2, liquor license support resolution. I understand that this has already been reviewed by the planning commission, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, is there anything else you would like to tell us about this?
Sure, it's kind of, it was new for me and it's also exciting because it means a new business is coming into town. But this is a request from Mr. Rodriguez, who is in the audience, to consider us adopting a resolution to recommend to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission approval of an on-premise tasting room permit for a new brewery that is planned to go in on Blue Star Highway. I believe the address is 6525 Blue Star Highway in Saugatuck Township. So recently, in the recent past, Mr. Rodriguez came before Planning Commission with the proposed brewery. He did successfully receive a special approval use for that brewery. Subsequently, he did also get approval for a final site plan, so that's all in the works. Now he is applying for a manufacturer's liquor license, which doesn't require using one of our quota licenses, which is good because we don't have any. But in conjunction with that, he's looking for an on-premise license. So essentially what you would be doing is approving a resolution to recommend to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission approval of that on-premise liquor license for the tasting room. So it's not approval of that on-premise tasting room liquor license, but a recommendation to the Liquor Control Commission to approve an on-premise tasting room liquor license. And as I said before, it was this was a project that came before Planning Commission, and it did get special approval use. And it also got final site plan approval.
Okay.
And if you did have any questions for the applicant is in the audience, or the person requesting this. So if you have any questions for David Rodriguez?
I have a question for you. I just, a clarification. So, a tasting room. I mean, this is gonna be more than a tasting room, but does he not qualify for a resort license then? That's what I
That's not
wondered.
what he's requesting. I don't know
Okay.
the answer to that question.
Okay, I'm just wondering, because I think they're unlimited too. So I was just a little, I'm very much in support of the project. I'm coming from that angle, so. But I just wondered about that.
Resort license, I'm just brewery and tasting room, that's all I'm applying for. And then, there's the entertainment, outdoor entertainment as well.
Right,
Which
yeah.
was talked about during the special land use.
Okay. Okay.
I just have a question because I'm the board representative on Planning Commission. I've seen you a few times before the Planning Commission, and we were very supportive of this, as is the board. Can you give us an update on your plans? Because it seems that might be a little behind the original schedule. or-
Yeah, kind of could give you an update. We're, might be coming back for another site plan review.
Okay,
Because we're
tweaking.
making a few things.
All right.
So we'll have to go back and do that whole process again. But I feel like it's gonna address a lot of the concerns that you guys had
Okay,
with the parking and all that.
Yep.
So I'm confident that it's a positive, change.
and is there any chance you'll be able to open by next summer or maybe not?
I'm hopeful.
Okay,
It's still my goal. So,
well, we're all in on this Blue Star Corridor
I
development,
know,
so
I'm working to support that.
I know you are. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Would you like a motion?
Sure, absolutely.
I move to adopt resolution 2023-15, a resolution to recommend to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission approval of an on-premise tasting room permit to be submitted by Mr. Rodriguez on behalf of the Blue Star Brewery to be located at 6525 Blue Star Highway.
Is there support?
I'll support that.
We have a motion by Aldrich, support by Israel's. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Aldrich,
Yes.
Israel's,
Yes.
Helmer,
Yes,
Marcy,
Yes.
Bigford, yes, motion carries 5-0. Congratulations.
So this means that we just need to sign this documentation as soon as possible for you, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, that brings us to item number 3. Do,
We can do it tomorrow.
okay. All right. Special assessment district public hearing. Daniel, would you like to speak a little bit about this before I open a public hearing?
Yeah, so we did have some discussion of this at a prior meeting to authorize myself moving forward with the attorney to put together a resolution to establish a special assessment district. It's really just for one property to pay off water and sewer connection fees. So tonight, we're gonna be opening up a public hearing to consider objections to the petition to the proposed special assessment district. Everything was done according to law, so it was published in the paper 10 days or more prior to this public hearing. It appeared in the paper twice, and it was mailed to the property owner. The property owner, I do not think is present tonight. But I have been in contact with the property owner and the property owner's attorney, and they are both in favor of the conditions of the special assessment, which would take what is now 2 years left of an agreement to pay off connection fees for water and sewer and extend that to a 10-year payment plan. So do you want to open the public hearing?
Sure, if there's no other questions for Manager DeFranco. Okay, I will go ahead and open the public hearing to hear and consider objections to the petitions to the proposed special assessment district. Is there anyone who would like to be heard at this time and considered? Is there anyone online? No, okay. Well, I will close this public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. Again, is there any other discussion on this subject?
Danielle, can I just ask you one question?
Mhm.
So basically, if anything were to happen to the property, we are protected by virtue of the SAD. Right?
Correct, yeah, so if the property were to change ownership, the new owner would be responsible for paying off the remainder of the connection fees, correct?
And just to be clear, currently the owner of record is still John Saros.
That is correct.
Okay. I just want to add, because I was not pleased back in June or whatever, when our council recommended we put a lien on the property and put the past due payments on the tax bill, because it more than doubled the tax bill. And they were still paying the a monthly fee on the connection fee, which all went against tax. And now we're changing it, so that money's got to be removed. I've got to deal with, changing the tax bill, moving that money, because the manager of the property has been paying the tax bill. So they paid the base tax. Anyway, it's just been a bit of a confusing for everybody. And I applaud doing it this way, because as you asked, it now, because the way it is now on the tax bill, if the property sells, it's over. It's over. So this is protection for us. And we dealt with this whole situation 2 or 3 years ago with the initial agreement, but sometimes those things happen. So I'm pleased to see it take this course.
I am too, and it's a very positive move for the tax owner, or for the property owner too. And I think that's, wonderful on our part to recognize that too. So thank you.
Win-win.
Well, I would love to move to adopt resolution 2023-16. Resolution of confirmation of special assessment, lien, payment, and collections of special assessment.
I will support that.
We have a motion by Marcy, support by Helmut. Is there further discussion? There none, I'll call the roll. Marcy?
Yes.
Helmut?
Yes.
Bigford, yes. Israel's?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Very good. Okay, all right.
Got to get through that.
Page 60, looks like. Election agreement. Oh, who would like to queue up this conversation? Clerk Israel? Manager DeFranco?
If Clerk Israel's is comfortable doing it, Clerk Israel's did all the heavy lifting on this, so. But-
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can be very brief on this because I think you have all the information in front of you. You've probably all read it twice and I know I spoke about it at the last meeting. So we're still talking about proposal 22-2 from 2022, and that's 9 days of elections and 1 day of additional elections, so it's 10 days for every state and federal election. We are partnering up with Saugatuck City to do our election this year. And our attorneys from the city and from the township have reviewed our documentation. Initially, we had 2 weeks from the county to get the information in order to qualify for grant money. So Lori and I worked with Saugatuck City to get that information into the county by the end of September, or the end of August, actually. And so hopefully we receive money. Michigan was awarded a lot of money to help fund this election. Elections will be costly in the future because of 9 days. And the clerk is responsible to be here all 9 days. And we also have to have 5 people here for those elections. And so when we've run these small election days in the office with 3, we think, this is great. Now we have to have 5 people here for 9 days in a row, and we're like, oh, plus then election day, we'll have at least 7 or 8 people. So I want to thank our election commission and Daniel for saying up front right away that we can service Saugatuck and the township from this building. So we'll be having the elections here. And so Saugatuck residents will have ample parking, which we're really happy to share with them, and Saugatuck staff. So we're splitting the days with staff and the responsibilities, and we're taking on 5 days and they're taking on 4. So they'll be here too. So they said their favorite part of elections is the food. So if any of you want to be part of that, they order from really good places, I'll tell you. So that was an interesting thought. I mean, they said Phil's delivers and all these places, and I'm like, really? Okay, we've had several meetings to get this in place, and there's a lot of documentation in the report. If you have any questions, I'm really happy to answer them. Our election commission, John and I met, and Abby and I have met about our process and what we're doing, and Nick has approved our report and how we're doing it. So I think I would just say eventually we're going to put something out to all our election workers and encourage them to stay with us. And we do need more Republicans. I'll be real honest about that. Because we have to do Democrats and Republicans both, you know,
Checks and balances.
yeah, it's a check and balance for it. We have probably 90% Democrat, 10% Republicans on this. So if you know of any really good working anybody, I mean, really, we like good people, but unfortunately the state makes us pick the parties of the 2 parties. And so independent just doesn't fly in that circumstance. And a lot of people say, but I am independent. And I'll say, well, pick one, you know, so whatever. I think that's it, unless you have questions, but thank you, John. Thank you, Abby. John and Abby are on the election commission along with myself, and that's just another state regulated thing. And Daniel really gets all the information from us. So he's really part of it too, but he's not on that commission. When we do the overall 9 days, our election commission, we decided, John, Abby, and I would be in charge of the entire election, and we would be overseeing everything. So they'll be approving all the election workers, but Lori and Sarah will be selecting the workers. So it's all kind of spelled out, and I think, you know, we're okay with it.
Do you foresee like a person doing all the days or do
No.
different people?
We would like different people. What we perceive is that if you're going to be an election worker on a specific day, we'd like you to be there for the whole day. That's what we're
Is it
looking at.
9 to 5 or?
I wish,
8 to 4.
Yeah, oh,
8 to
okay.
Just our
Oh,
office.
8
It's
to
to match
4,
the
but that
office.
means you need to be here at 7:15 and you may be here until almost 5, but it's not, but that would be
Or
the
later if there was
maximum.
something really
Yes.
weird, right?
Because we're not really closing out the elections. We can't run the tape those days. And so we're just kind of balancing with the machine, which we do every half hour
Mhm.
anyway. So I think that, I honestly think it'll be, 7:15 to 4:30.
What are the dates again? Just.
Well, February 27 is the first election. So,
-9.
minus 11, actually. It's a -11 because then there's a Monday in there that there's nothing, and then there's Tuesday is the big election day, the 10th day. So, it always starts on a Saturday, so it runs 2 weekends and 5 days. So 2 weekends and then 5 days.
That's a lot. Wow.
It is, but that's how they're all
I'll remember
run.
to do a vacation during this. That's why I was asking before I do something like
We'll
that.
bring you
I
back.
wanna help. you.
And we would like your help. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you too is, I've had some people ask, and I called Lori today and said, when do you have to have your, campaign information in? And I think it's April 24. She's not sure, but I do want you to know that we will let you all know.
Okay. Thank you.
So, but keep that back there too. Okay, that's the
Lori's always been good about that. That's for the petitions for those running. again.
petitions, yeah,
And again, this,
and the affidavit.
the 9 days does not apply to the general election in November, correct?
Yes, it does.
I thought it was just the 2 Fridays.
No, it's anytime it's a state or a federal election, it applies. If it's just a school election or a simple millage in our community, it doesn't, but state and federal elections, it always applies, and that's,
So the 3
That's
will
okay.
have the 9 days
yes,
in conjunction with the city.
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And I read it all in the paper today, so it must be happening.
it's happening.
That's.
I know.
It was in the record today.
I was hoping.
It was it was in a Detroit paper over the weekend, and they interviewed some clerks in Lansing and always in the big cities. I said, why are they interviewing all them? Why don't they come over here? But, they're nervous. Everybody's kind of nervous because it's just different. But I, am feeling that at least I had a year in, so I feel somewhat
Oh, yeah.
okay. And then I work with all of you, so I feel like now.
Well,
I,
So let's don't forget it, and we've discussed this. The vast majority, I guess, of our voters vote absentee.
They're starting to, so.
So some of these days, there might be 4 people, if anything. I mean, maybe not. We don't know. It's the first time, but
it's just the
it
process.
could be light.
The processes will be different.
Right.
Remember, we have 2 communities.
Mhm.
And the state actually has said that they expect to have 30% of the voters in our community, our active voters, vote in person in those 9 days. I'm not sure if that's correct. I mean, we don't seem to think that, but what we saw last year is that we had over 40% of our voters vote by mail-in, which is really nice. It puts a lot of pressure on that, the AV counting board, and we can only run that board on the last election day, Tuesday. So again, we'll still have 4 people working the AV counting board, probably earlier in the day,
Right.
all day, and that's a tough job. And you have to be there, you can't leave, and you can't have different shifts, so. Abby already volunteered. Not really.
I will. I'll do anything.
She will.
Good time to.
Yeah.
No.
Positions.
I'll do your laundry. I'll walk your dog. No, I just want to
It'll be good.
just highlight how you've handled these changing expectations and challenges and increased workload and responsibility with such grace and you're such competence and if you are overwhelmed, you certainly don't seem like it. And I just have a lot of faith in you. So thank you for taking all this on, Becky.
Thank you. You're welcome, but I know that I can go to anybody here. I'm glad, I'm happy about that. Okay, I promise to be done.
Okay, any questions?
Thanks for being brief.
Do you think I was brief?
No.
Well, I started.
Given the,
That's my fault.
I couldn't resist. Come on.
given
You
the
just support
content.
the question.
Oh, my goodness.
On that note,
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement. This is the right one, right? The election services between the two.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. To approve the agreement for election services between Saugatuck City and Saugatuck Township.
We have a motion by Marcy. Is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Helmut. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Marcy,
Yes.
Helmut,
Yes.
Israel's,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Bigford, yes. Right.
$72.
Thank you. Okay. Daniel, would you please kick off the conversation regarding the Blue Star Corridor intersection and safety study RFP?
Yeah, so before the board is an RFP that staff has requested, requesting authorization for publication of. And it is an RFP for a Blue Star Corridor intersection and safety study. So this RFP is looking for an engineering firm that could look at the northern half of Blue Star Highway Corridor holistically. Looking at specific intersections for possible safety improvements. They're gonna be looking at, you know, where we need to keep traffic moving, where we need to stop traffic, where population centers are, where business centers are, where people are moving, where they want to move. Develop some crash data and then propose to us some potential improvements that could be made at each of these intersections. Some of those recommendations we want to be long-term hard infrastructure. Some of them we want maybe some quick fixes that we can test out to see how they affect or impact traffic or the ability of people to move. But this is somewhat of a long time coming, but we've gotten a lot of input from the public saying that they would like to see something change in Blue Star Highway. So we try to describe what the current challenges are in this RFP, if you look at the beginning. And then, you know, we have some specific asks for an engineer firm that would pick this up. But this was developed in conjunction with our planning department, with the fire district, and with the Allegan County Road Commission. So it's been a long road to get here. And I think it's been confusing for us, it's been confusing for the public, but we finally made a lot of progress in communicating with the road commission. Because for the people who don't know, the road commission, for all intents and purposes, owns Blue Star Highway. They have full jurisdiction over Blue Star Highway. And so to have any kind of response or changes or improvements, we've had to learn how to speak their language. And this RFP is speaking road commission language. We sat down with them, we sat down with our engineer, with our planner, with fire, with the road commission, and we said, what will it take for you to allow us to begin to explore and implement infrastructure improvements? And they said a study on traffic and safety and what you're thinking about doing and data to back it up. So that's exactly what we're doing here.
Good. Daniel, can you remind me how much we did allocate toward this in the budget?
I believe it's $50,000.
Like a motion?
If there's no other questions for the manager, yes, go ahead.
I move to authorize the publication of a request for proposal for a Blue Star corridor intersection and safety study.
Motion by Aldrich, is there support?
I'll support it.
Support by Israels. Further discussion? Hearing none.
I think this is great. I mean, I really do. That's my discussion, but I'd like to say, I think this is a good move.
If we hear anything, it's this issue, so.
Right,
it's
right.
Nice to be able to.
It's definitely probably the number one issue and concern of our constituents is safety and. Okay. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Excellent. Item number 6 is 81, thank you. Sculpture placement, we talked about this at last month's meeting. I understand there's been some developments and staff is looking for some direction in this area. Go ahead, Daniel, and give us a little bit more information.
So after our meeting with Viridis, I met with Viridis, the road commission, our engineer, and then the engineer who's designing the new roundabout at Old Allegan Blue Star. And the roundabout design is a little different than we were thinking. So it was definitely a good meeting to sit down with the engineer. But essentially the center circle is going to be the potential for landscaping in the center circle is going to be a lot more constrained than we were originally anticipating. So the majority of that center traffic circle is essentially going to be a mountable apron. So when large trucks with trailers behind them, or you see large trucks with huge boats going, going down Blue Star, if they're large and unable to make the turn, their trailer will be able to easily mount that center circle. So it does change how we're thinking about the design for the roundabout. And if you remember in that previous discussion, it came out, do we want to place that sculpture that we recently purchased in the center of the roundabout? It is looking like that may not be a possibility. But what I guess I'm asking you all is, do you want me to continue to pursue that question with the road commission and the engineer for the roundabout? Or do we want to say, no, but we will pursue a landscape plan without the sculpture being in the center of the roundabout, and we will determine a location for the sculpture at a later point?
What is the, so if trucks or whomever need to do this, because I get it, it's gonna be a little tight. So if they need to drive over, I'm assuming that someone has mentioned that it is definitely a safety hazard if we put it there.
The engineer for the roundabout has expressed concern with any hard landscaping being in the center of the roundabout. They're classifying this as a micro roundabout. I think it's a little larger than some of the smaller ones that have gone in. But I have reached out to the city manager in Dexter because they have some micro roundabouts, and I think they're a little smaller than what we have. But they have a center area that's landscaped, and I asked him, do you ever see tire marks in that center area, or do you ever have signs knocked over?
Sure.
And he said yes. So I think that gives us an indication that it may not be feasible to locate the sculpture in the center of the roundabout. That's what I'm getting right now.
No, and I think it's unfortunate the road commission hadn't provided this information to us sooner. I think these are called soft roundabouts in the UK. And we were looking at all these great images with a wall with our name on it and grasses, all that before you even got to the sculpture. So that's unfortunate. And I guess, as you said, the road commission owns the road.
They own the road. There are, I will say though, after the meeting with Viridis, I was probably sharing some of your sentiment. I think they could see like, the joy in my face just run out.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of opportunity still to make that roundabout beautiful. I sent them a ton of new concept pictures. They get your whole aesthetic. Like the kind of the natural aesthetic that you're going for. I think that we'll be able to create something beautiful. I think lighting is going to play more of an important role in the landscaping now, because that's an important part of increasing safety so that people can see it, that people know they're coming up to something. So we're just pivoting. So I think that what Viridis comes up with is really going to be gorgeous and a lot better than just the concrete.
Sure.
And I think it's also going to be safer than what the road commission was proposing, because you can improve the safety of the roundabout through landscaping choices. So I think it's just a matter of pivoting and kind of accepting that new reality, but knowing that there's still potential and that we will explore it.
And having said that, I actually support this potential motion, because we're not the final say here. It's the road commission. So I'd kind of like us to kind of stay with that being our goal, if it works, to have the sculpture in the middle of whatever the Viridis comes up with that the road commission approves. If they don't, then we can talk about perhaps where else on Blue Star, because that was sort of our thinking, that this is something to celebrate the Blue Star corridor.
Or here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on Blue Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to debate or discuss,
Right.
there's so many options. I would like to see us though, just adopt this motion to say, well, that was our intention. So work with us to the extent you can. Maybe it'll work out. We don't know.
Well, I was just gonna say, after seeing it, it doesn't look as big as I thought it was, but that's because I think the calculation included the whatever.
Oh, the
what would have been.
foundation is right.
On the other hand, as this came up, I was thinking, let's say it's icy and I hit the thing and I knock it over and it lands on my car. I mean, I started thinking of it that way. And so for anybody, not just for me, but so I would rather, because then we would have Daniel, I would rather not spend any more time on trying to get the sculpture in the middle of it if there's any danger at all. And it appears to me like there is. So yeah, that's how I feel.
Janik also has expressed,
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna ask.
oh
him.
yeah, he's just said
No,
nothing hard in there. He really was adamant about it, so.
Why? Did he say why?
Just because if you Google,
Safety?
safety issue, and if you Google it, it happens a lot. People run into these things that are in these roundabouts, so.
And of course,
I mean, over and over and over again, I started researching and it's, case after case, so I.
It kind of depends on the roundabout, like
Exactly.
sometimes if you have a large enough roundabout, like something like a sculpture and hard landscaping is a good idea because it draws your attention to it. I think in this case, though, we're not working with a big area. That's the kind of,
Yeah. Well, it depends how flat it is too.
yeah,
Some of them are like,
flat as a pancake.
if there's an incline,
Yeah.
which I'm hoping there's some incline here, and then you've got some landscaping,
Yeah.
you gotta be like aiming for hit the sculpture. It's not gonna happen by an accident. If it's designed.
there's nothing though that would stop it. Looking at
There's no wall.
there's not,
Well, there'll be the landscaping and the incline, if you should know you're
I don't
driving.
think there will be. an incline
No, and-
Of any kind.
well, it's the apron that
Depends how flat
the
it
trucks
is,
would
yeah.
have to go on.
Yeah.
And I think too, of course, safety is the number one concern, but also protecting this asset that we've purchased as, spent our tax dollars on this art piece. Do we want it somewhere where it can be damaged pretty severely? It could be damaged beyond repair. Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah,
No, I think it's.
for the hell of it, why
Found out
not?
the information.
Yeah,
You know, it's our first roundabout and like, in our first.
And our first
culture.
yeah, it's a lot of new and
It
it's.
is.
It's a lot of new, but I think we live and learn or whatever the expression is, but. I appreciate you coming back to us with this.
No, and I would just like to retain my optimism that the road commission and Viridis and us can maybe come up with something. This doesn't really carry that much weight except to say, please look at it this way, which was our intent last month. So I would like to therefore make a motion to move to approve placement of Canary in the Coal Mine sculpture in the Blue Star Highway Old Allegan Roundabout contingent upon approval from the Allegan County Road Commission.
We have a motion by Helmrich. Is there support? It appears that the motion is not supported, so this motion will die on the table. And we don't really need to take any other action then, correct, Daniel? I mean, Viridis would just be kind of taking a different,
Yeah,
pursuing.
We can take it back to Zealand.
no, please don't make me do that.
No, we wouldn't, we want it.
Yeah, this sculpture's been a lot of work for me.
Yeah.
I won't
No,
bore you with
we
the
know,
trauma.
no, we know, we've lived through it.
But no, I think it's fine. No, I'll just move forward with Viridis and we'll come up with something and it's gonna be great.
Mhm.
It will be great.
They are great.
Yeah.
Daniel, because I think we had this discussion tonight, it's not saying stop. If the road commission comes back and says, oh, it's plenty big and we can protect it and we can do this and that, then it can come before us.
But we have to give Viridis direction on what
We
they
do.
should be planning for, either a sculpture or another landscape, whatever design.
But we have to know what it's
If-
gonna look like.
So how about I put it this way? So if they come back and everyone comes back and says, yeah, this crazy idea is totally feasible and we think it's safe, I will bring it to you.
Right.
But I won't go out of my way to push them.
Spend time.
Besides that,
Fair.
But we have a year and a half.
I think
so
that's
let's
fair.
yeah, I
Keep our minds
I
up.
will say that they have already, it was a very positive discussion because they've already increased the size of that center circle to a 20-foot diameter.
Okay.
So they're giving us a lot more room for landscape, which is great. So, I'm hoping that just the sharing of ideas produces a better project. But yeah, I won't go out of my way, but if they come back and say, yeah, well, for whatever reason, we think this is an interesting, good idea, I'll bring it to you.
Okay, I think that's.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
All
You're
right, very good. That brings us to item 7, which is related on our agenda, revised roundabout landscaped contract, pretty straightforward. Daniel, do you have
I
a
would
brief
just,
description of this?
yeah, I would just say this, in the beginning, they didn't quite know what you were after. I think having discussed it with you, they have a better idea, like, that we're interested in the irrigation. Like I said, lighting, I think is gonna be an important part of the project, so there's gonna have to be an electrical plan. And I also said to them that I don't want multiple proposals. I think that we would like to see what the cost is from the design to the cost estimation through construction administration, and so that's what we have here. So it comes to $14,000 for the landscape design.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'd be happy to. I would like to move to approve the updated landscape design proposal for Blue Star Highway Roundabout with Viridis Design Group.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Motion by Israel, support by Marcy. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. This brings us to item number 8 on tonight's agenda, which is a closed session. I guess we would ask members of the audience to leave at this time.
We can
or-
actually, if members of the audience want to say, we can go into the front room. I think
Okay.
that there's good insulation there and we can discuss.
Okay,
And then, if anybody needs assistance, Morgan is here.
great, good.
Perfect.
Do you want to make the motion though?
Oh, I don't think if somebody would like to
wants
make
the motion to go.
Yes, thank you. We don't do this every
I
day.
think they're
so.
leaving anyway.
We could just sweat them out.
That's right. If they're leaving anyway, we can.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.26 to discuss confidential of attorney-client memoranda.
Motion by Israel, is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Marcy. Any further discussion? I'll call the roll. Israel's,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Bickford, yes. Helmer.
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on. Don't say anything.
Okay, well, that's.
So you're good.
Okay, before we move on from item number 8, closed session. I think there is a proposed motion. Is there anybody that would like to make a motion?
I can.
Thank you.
Do we have to move to be?
We already moved.
Oh, you already.
We've done that. We've done that. We're in
Okay,
regular
thank you.
session.
So I will make a motion to postpone action on the agreement in order to allow for additional specific considerations.
A motion by Israel, is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Aldrich. Further discussion? Hearing none. It's just roll call, just to be safe, I think. I will call the roll. It's fine. Doesn't hurt. Israel's,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Marcy,
Yeah.
Bickford, yes, Helmer.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, that brings us to our last item under new business, renewal of MSP rental agreement. This is a 1-year lease. We visit this annually. Is there anything new to consider regarding this, Daniel?
No, it's the same agreement as always. The current agreement expires December 31st. So this picks up at January 1 and expires January 1, 2024. So it's a year. But yeah, it's because the lease is through the state of Michigan, it's a little bit of a process. So they like agreements in and there's all this paperwork that we have to fill out too. So this is one of the steps in the process.
I see they said Dale did break up.
Oh, not in the agreement?
Yeah,
No. Now I'm sad.
Oh, what?
Dale DeBrey.
Where's
Dale, where's this?
Dale at the top.
Oh, goodness.
It's not in the.
Oh, it is. It's a Dale.
Oh, gosh, that's-
I guess you'll have
No,
to send
that's
it back to them.
It's not the agreement itself.
Oh, up there, attention.
You just have to introduce yourself to Kurt.
He's like the whole person at that office I talked to.
Mhm.
They move around.
Well, Daniel, I did promise that I would bring this up because I bring it up every year.
Mhm.
They don't.
If we sign this, I'd like to see them pay.
Okay.
Oh,
They probably, I think they moved in here in like 2013, so that's $10.
Yeah, they should do
And then they
that.
put, the paperwork.
Well, is it like,
It's
it makes
crazy.
it non-binding, you know, like.
Hey,
yeah.
There you go.
well, we could have kicked them out so we could have expanded the office.
I think so.
They're deadbeat renters. Anyway, that's my comment.
Okay, it's all public. Daniel's gonna get it.
That's okay, public. I told him I'd go to Eubanks, the state treasurer. We collect a lot of money for the state and for education.
Roger Banks.
So,
All right.
no, it's not Bob Eubanks.
Okay, who would like to make a motion?
Oh, I would love to make a motion to renew the rental agreement between Saugatuck Township and the Michigan State Police for a period of 1 year commencing January 1, 2024 and terminating December 31, 2024.
Motion by Marcy, is there support?
I'll support that.
support by Israel's. Is there further
90.
discussion? No. Call the roll. Marcy,
Yes.
Israel's,
Yes.
Bigford, yes, Aldrich.
Yeah.
Helmert,
I'm thinking about it. Yes.
motion carries unanimously for 5-0. Okay, there is no old business, so now that you've wet your whistle, why don't you bring us to the treasurer's report?
It always comes to the point of the evening when I start to lose my voice. So here we go. All good news again. October 1st, our general fund bank balance stood at $875,000. It was down about almost $80,000 from August. There were no departmental spending overages again. Expense total was 7% below budget, even with payments to the significant payments that brought down the account were to Veritas, Outdoor Discovery Center, the sculptor, and our engineers. And it was, like I said, I was highlighting special payments of $5,000 or more that were made well within the budgeted range. Revenues are 13% below budgeted amount, but that's entirely because of timing differences with taxes. Permits are up again, of course. Tax year 2023 summer due date came and passed. The total return rate that we're on time was 85%, which is pretty high and been the way it's been pretty much that for the last 6 years. Second notice with interest added will go out mid-October. I'm hoping maybe by Friday. We have about 270 parcels that ignored us completely and didn't pay anything. And again, that number is almost identical to what it's been. On the investment front, I'm going to talk more in a minute because it's a quarterly report, but total investments value as of October 1st was $5.111 million, an increase of $31,000 from August. On the disbursement front, because I have to report this for the vote, you did approve in the consent agenda. We had 2 disbursements from summer taxes made in the month. One was for $1,265,000. And the second one was 4 million, just north of $4 million. And there will be 2 more disbursements made in October. I mentioned this earlier, but the fiscal year 2023 audit is coming up closely. There'll be the team members will be here October 25, 26, and 27. And I think this year we're going to give them a nice little work area where they're off by themselves and keep the heat on, unlike last year when the heat broke. Lori and I will be gathering all the required information. I've already sent a lot of it electronically to the auditor team, and that's it. I can go right into the quarterly financial investment report. So again, I think the main thing is just to look down to the very bottom line, which I just reported. The total investment value went above 5.1 million. We increased $31,000 in the last month. Again, the CDs above that are in yellow are maturing
December
by the end of this year. So actually, my partner in investment strategy, Supervisor Bigford, and I, we've booked a lunch meeting next week. So again, I know we've been thinking about doing a couple more investments. Rates have topped, some of them are topping 6%. You know, I get the advisors send us stuff almost every day, more than we need, but I'll bring
That's
them.
incredible. I think that's what we made in a year when we started.
Oh,
About 30.
Probably. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, we had $760,000, as you all well know. You hear me tarp about that.
So like, we're earning over 10 times
Yeah.
as much that we, it's incredible.
And the other good thing, as you all know, we're in the municipal investment pool, Michigan class, which used to be kind of frowned upon by some people. Well, last month's yield was 5.5%. So they're doing real good. And again, that money, that's all liquid.
Yep.
$2 million. If we needed it tomorrow, for whatever reason, we would have it. So, any questions? Thanks for your attention. Right.
Great.
And is there a planning commission report? Just.
Oh, just real brief, because, you know, we met last week, just to give you an update. we're in the hopefully the final review as the whole commission with the input from the steering committee. We're going page by page. So we started this together last week. There are 22 chapters in the zoning ordinance and we got through 7. We're meeting again next Tuesday for definite. There might be another meeting at the end of the month. Because we would like to get through all 22 before we go public, but there's some timing issues because of the moratorium and we're working that out. But it does look like the last week of November would be the open to the public and we would re-invite the original stakeholders. And then God knows what'll happen.
They don't like it. Hopefully they'll like it.
Well, some will, some won't. It's a mixed bag. And then, no, I did make one other note. Oh, this came up and I wanted to share this. I told the commissioner and maybe Dave I said, well, why don't you write to the board or come and present to the board? So I'm just bringing this up. I'm not advocating for it. But when I gave the board report and talked about the plans for the alternative Lakeshore Drive Road and how we had voted to say, no, we wanted to be not, what do we call it? A local road, you know, with the lower speed limit, the bike trail, blah, blah, blah. So someone brought up the fact, could we make it contingent that the road commission would then be obligated to restore the washout property, which has been taken over by homeowners that have built decks and furniture on a public road? That would allow bikes to get through over the washout. That's just sharing that. I said, well, come to our meeting or write it up or write. So that's it. But it is an interesting thought because over the years we have had complaints about that. That, you know, someone has just increased their personal property side. They don't pay more tax for it. They took over the road. I don't know if you've seen it, but
No, I'd like to see it.
Well, the thing that's.
it's worth looking at because it's like,
It's
whoa.
really frustrating. You can't get behind it either.
Right.
You have to turn around.
Yeah.
If you're on a bicycle, you wouldn't know that, you know, it's really frustrating.
So I kind of think it is something to maybe look at
It would be great to open
and
that
ask
up to.
our friends in Allegan about.
I hate to burst your bubble. It has been looked at. Dana actually was Brandon Newhoff was the engineering firm that looked at it. Now, do some of the have some of the private property owners built like decks and
Right.
patios
Right.
in the right of way?
Yep.
The answer to that is yes. The second part though is there enough right of way to safely construct a path? And the answer is no.
Okay.
So you would be fighting over something that is too small to safely construct a
Okay.
path. So it's unfortunate and it's frustrating, but that's what the engineering report says, that there is an engineering report. They did look at it and there's not enough right of way. There's too much of the road that's actually has collapsed and no longer exists.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So is that a report you could share with me?
I can find it. I can ask Dana to.
I'd love, you know,
Yeah.
then I could give it to the commissioner or commissioners that got so animated about this. And
Yeah, I can ask Dana for the information.
but I still wish we could somehow figure out a way to increase their taxable value because
How was it allowed?
they've
How-
taken over, you know, public property,
I guess you could fine them.
or we'd have to sue them, I guess.
Yeah,
Cause I know at one point when Lene was sort of new here, she did go after them to the degree she could with letters and I know they're a very prominent family, but still.
Could they, it wouldn't be a lawsuit, but could they pursue adverse possession? Even though it's a road or whatever it is that
I don't know.
the stuff is on?
I think it would be very challenging to go after them, and there's really, I mean,
No, I mean them,
No, she's saying them sue us.
adverse possession, meaning they would then
Yeah.
own the property. I've seen it happen in the town.
Like squatting rights or something? Is
It's
that-
kind of like,
Yeah.
okay, they could, I don't know enough about it to make
They
it,
might have
7
that.
years or isn't squatter, days 7 years?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
But it's interesting how does it apply to outdoor space?
Right. Oh, I thought that's.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Okay,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It applies to
Oh, yeah.
everyone.
no, I was responding to squatting, but.
Oh, I mean, isn't that what?
No,
it
even
is?
if you have a
Why
fence
is
somewhere
advertising?
forever,
I
you
feel like
can't.
I might
So-
have read a sign. on
Or you
it,
walk in a
where you
path.
can't Get
Right.
it removed, but it was a law thing, you know,
Yeah.
and go to the lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I didn't want.
Daniel, managers report.
A lot going on. I won't try to hit on everything, but open house is tomorrow, 4 to 6. We're calling it open house light, so we did some posters so people can kind of see what's going on at the township. We'll have water. I think we have some lemonade, we have cookies. We got some bouquets of flowers. We can move them around. There'll be like a very short presentation at some point when we get a little bit of a crowd, just kind of acknowledging everybody, including yourselves, so please be there for your contribution to the renovation. But it really is just kind of like casual, letting people in and seeing what we've accomplished here, because people are very curious and they're very excited. So that's tomorrow, 4 to 6, please be there. We have that new logo up front. I think everybody saw it.
Mhm.
Oh, it's really cute.
Okay.
God,
I thought it was gonna be on that wall, so.
Me and my twin, right?
Right,
Yeah. I'm trying to see,
But you did plan where it was gonna go. I remember that long ago.
Oh,
Yeah, on that wall.
Right.
You were. Anyway, I like it.
so we did hold a public input session for the parks plan. Some of you were there, which was great. That was really well attended. We did reapply for the trust fund grant. So we should find out in mid-December if we got $300,000 towards the trail.
and did we go for it on our own this time, or
Yeah, we went for it on our own. We went for it on our own last time, but it was.
it got,
Yeah.
confused?
But we did update it, so hopefully we can increase our score. I am talking with the city of Douglas and the Friends of the Blue Star about soliciting an engineering firm to do a phase 1 engineering design for the southern portion of the Blue Star Trail. So picking up at Wiley Road and taking it all the way to M89. So that would include phase 1 engineering plus aiding us in applying for the TAP grant and trust fund grant. So the Friends of the Blue Star have committed to funding both the engineering and the cost of applying for those grants. We have 2 proposals in front of us, so hopefully in November, I will bring you a proposal to vote on. It's really at no cost to the township because the Friends are paying for it. But it gets the ball moving in terms of turning our eyes south and bringing the trail south, because the larger picture is to connect Holland with South Haven via continuous bike path or bike trail.
So how much of that leg? We'd have to work with Douglas, right?
And we are,
Okay,
yep, we
are
are.
they part of the TAP grant or any of the grant applications, or
They would be in this round, so this would be totally separate, so no.
this would
applicant.
come later?
This would come later, so what we would like to do is get the ball rolling now. So that we would have time to apply for the TAP grant and the trust fund grant in 2024.
Okay,
Cause these things take, I mean, you know, Brenda, these projects take years to come about. So we're getting the ball rolling now. Douglas has been very enthusiastic about the project.
Okay.
So that's good. And then the Friends of the Blue Star are obviously enthusiastic. So they would pay for all that, the phase 1 engineering, and then hopefully we can get grants to cover the actual construction costs. So that's going on. We had the 3rd annual Household Hazardous Waste. That was great. At the last board meeting, we approved hiring legal services to defend us against a large property owner that was contesting their assessed value, and Tony worked his magic and they backed off. And that all went away and they agreed with his assessment and the data he provided, and so we don't have to worry about that. We save money on legal defense. So that was great. We did reapply for a grant through the CVB. So the CVB rescinded the grant to the city of Saugatuck to purchase the sculpture. I reapplied and asked for more money and they approved it unanimously. So that was good. So we got $1,300 additional dollars towards it. For a total of $4,050 towards the purchase. And then I've included, this is the first time I've done it, it's kind of quarterly. But I have kind of like that. Simplified project list, so this kind of shows you like what we've done, what's completed, that's in red. What's in yellow is not started or on hold, and then what's in green is in the works. So you can kind of see like how we're progressing through the year on the projects that we've identified.
But that's a satisfying feeling, seeing all these.
It kind of is, yeah. Oh, it was,
It's
yeah.
impressive, Daniel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A lot's been done.
Yeah, no, a lot of red, which is funny.
Yes.
I don't know why I picked red because it stood out, but red means it's done.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean stop.
Right.
Right.
and even your greens are, going full steam ahead.
Yeah, we got a lot of greens, so.
So
Yeah,
does
no,
this replace, because today, as I told you, I was really trying to catch up on the filing, because they had so many papers, because we want. We don't want piles around the democracy,
Right.
but I forget when you did it, but it was a long sheet with color coding. Is this,
that still exists.
Okay.
This is the simplified version because it fits on one page,
Right.
but like it breaks, there's
The
like
different
much more
areas.
detailed descriptions of the
Okay.
project. There's like an update on where we're at with it, who is responsible for it. Like there's more to it,
Alright.
but this is what will fit on a single page and is easy to digest.
it's easier to read, yeah.
Yeah, it's easier to read.
Yeah, I did file that. I kept the file.
Oh, good.
So I'll put this in with it.
Yeah, so it tells you the strategic
Alright.
pillar, the project title, the year we hope to
Right.
complete it.
Right.
A summary of the project, when we hope to complete it by, and its current status.
Wow.
So everything on our strategic plan is on this document.
That is correct.
That's the way it,
I like the simplicity.
I like it.
Less is more.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, it's really good.
That's it.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
All right, that brings us to open board report. Stacy, would you like to begin?
I did want to say, I didn't have a fire report in there, but it was only a 20-minute meeting, very quick, so
Okay.
there really wasn't much to say. That's the only reason.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing more than what Daniel already covered with roads, so.
Okay, here,
I covered our office.
okay. I have nothing to add.
I already said, the only thing I was gonna say, I said when Dean was here, and it was just again to brag about our participation in the mini golf tournament. No, because we've never done that before. It was a
Really?
township team and they divide the teams are either east or west of the county, and obviously we were on the west.
It was nice to hear his feedback that we're kind of setting the example for other
Yes.
municipalities and we're paving the way and others can use us as a model, and that was really
And I
cool
was,
to hear from him.
and I was throwing, had some from planning commission play. Gordon played. I know you offered to play if we had
I know.
trouble, but Gordon came forward
It's
and
like, I'll pull
obviously
myself together. You guys.
Arnold Palmer over there.
Then you
And
did
Becky and me. It was fun. So that's all I have.
Okay. We don't have any audience or anyone online, so no public comments. I will adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:40.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well done,
Yay.
team.